Culture is a paradigm rooted in the collective psyche of a group of people, and oftentimes very tied in with religion. It's a collective socio-cultural reality that is communally applied and enforced as a way of life. It's a set of boundaries drawn and enforced as reality. If you ask people why things are the way they are, it seems the best answer you can get is because that's the way it is. Culture is simply conditioning. It's indoctrination into a set of boundaries and laid out way of life. It's the passing down of ideals, ideology, religion, and sense of identity, and that's all it is. It's groups of people acting from similar mindsets and models of reality, and it has changed countless times and is subject to change again. Every single civilization since the dawn of civilization has drawn boundaries somewhere. It's the boundaries that make them what they are. Our culture is the consumer culture. We live in an age of abstraction and literally consume culture and distraction. Separation is enforced to an obscene degree. Our culture has its roots in religion, and religion plays a huge role in the belief of separation. People believe that they are separate from God. They believe it's about a relationship between the Creator and their individual selves. The ego is the part of the self that tries to enforce separation. It's the false sense of self that wants to believe it is separate from the rest. People operate from their egos, believing they are separate from God, from nature, and from each other. They are convinced that their identity is their ego, and only that. So we shuffle through life, disconnected from ourselves and each other. We pursue gratification and indulgence through consumption. Our culture creates an obsession of material objects. It glorifies consumption. The consumption of objects, media, ideology, religion, brand names, TV, phones, video games, movies, celebrity gossip, money, and other forms of cultural diversion. Culture is a self-perpetuating machine that people are plugged into. You are molded from birth, indoctrinated into a system of thought laid out before you by your predecessors, cut to fit into a predetermined pattern and way of life. It's a cyclical thing. You're thrust into it. It creates you, and then you create it. You are raised by the standards and values of a particular culture. Your worldview is the product. Then you perpetuate the culture by taking your worldview and applying it. In our culture, our worldviews are fed to us and influenced by the manipulation of media to support hidden agendas. In the words of McKenna, it tries to sell you endless forms of false happiness through material and external things, and a false understanding of the world and self. It invites people to diminish and dehumanize themselves by behaving like machines. It champions competition, acquisition, greed, egoism, conformity, passive acceptance, and fear. It puts human beings against human beings and highlights our differences, ingraining an us versus them mentality into us. We are to take care of ourselves and ourselves alone, and if you choose to help others, you must do it out of your own pocket. There is no market for helping people you can't profit off. We obsess and chase money and sacrifice our lives, our time, and potential into the service of institutions. Money creates scarcity. It divides and creates the haves and the have-nots. It enables suffering and misery. Is it not grotesque that our grocery shelves are literally crammed with food while almost 1 billion people starve simply because they cannot afford to eat? We pretend we are civilized, but in reality we are far from it. Our value systems are broken and rooted in division. We pursue things that don't even matter. Violence is indoctrinated through the media to the point where the suffering of others seems like an abstract concept. We see so much on screens, in movies, TV, and video games that we are numb to it in reality. Sex is everywhere, smeared into society through media and advertisements to the point where it's devalued. It's become something to sell and move people. It's the often alcohol-fueled mashing of bodies, the quest of self-indulgence and personal pleasure through physical attraction and the firing of synapses. It's easy to forget that it's been less than 100 years since women have been allowed to vote, and slavery was only abolished not long before. But are we really any closer to equality? There's still discrimination everywhere. In today's world, there's almost 3 times as many slaves than there was when it was legal. 30 million versus 11 million. This culture harvests human potential. We are drones consuming a reality that is fed to us. The 85 richest people own more than the poorest 3.5 billion combined. Our financial systems have been hijacked and are beyond corrupt. Politics are bought. There's a class of beyond wealthy banking elites who are hiding behind the scenes, pulling the strings and applying influence wherever they please. 4 companies control pretty much every corporation and company. They have different names to support the illusion of choice. 90% of televised media is controlled by 6 corporations. Large corporations navigate tax loopholes to avoid paying immense amounts of money, despite using many public resources in their favor. 1% of the population controls over half the world's wealth, and inequality continues to grow. Banks have the system so worked over that it has literally legalized theft. They manipulate loans, debt, interest rates, inflation, and the supply of money for their best interest. When they fail, they are bailed out by taxpayers and are not held accountable to pay back. They are publicly subsidized but privately profitable. A recent study by the University of Princeton found that the US is no longer an actual democracy, but rather an oligarchy. An excerpt from the study states, "The central point that emerges from our research is that economic elites and organized groups representing business interests have substantial independent impact on US government policy, while mass-based interest groups and average citizens have little to no independent influence." Our culture is a system of control. It's not about money, it's about power, and money is just a tool used to control us. They gave us money and we gave them the world. Our current systems are designed to harvest our power and human potential. We are cattle, and the world's population is asleep and being herded, oppressed, and extorted. And it's all maintained through the belief of separation. We feel we are isolated and alone. We spend our lives working, and in our free time pursuing all the pleasures of a consumer lifestyle. The current systems are unsustainable and incongruous with the needs of the self, the planet, and humanity as a whole. If the path is not corrected, it will not be pretty. Not only is our environment being pillaged and destroyed in the name of profit and consumption, but our financial and political systems are on the verge of collapse. And it all exists as it does because enough people believe it to be this way. People don't question because of their conditioning. It's all they know. And they don't question because we are incredibly fortunate. The majority of us have never experienced hardship or suffering. We have everything we need and a plethora of outlets to distract us from asking the important questions. But culture is malleable, and we can make it what we want. There have been thousands of civilizations and cultures before us, all operating from different models and systems. So the question is, what kind of world do you want? What kind of culture would you like to be a part of? Do you want one with the continued belief of separation? One with abundance here and scarcity there? One void of accountability, filled with denial? And one that's way of life is directly related to the suffering of others? Our society, as we know it, literally operates off the backs of those less fortunate, but it's justified because they live in different places and don't share the same views as us. Terence McKenna once said that civilization is 7 billion people trying to make themselves happy by standing on each other's shoulders and kicking each other's teeth in. Culture isn't a friend. It disempowers you. It uses you and abuses you for the convenience of institutions. Personal empowerment means deconditioning yourself from the values and programs of the society and putting your own values and programs in place. We have to create culture. Don't watch TV. Don't read magazines. Don't even listen to NPR. Create your own roadshow. The nexus of space and time where you are now is the most immediate sector of your universe. And if you're worrying about Michael Jackson or Bill Clinton or somebody else, then you're disempowered. You're giving it away to icons. Icons which are maintained by an electronic media so that you want to dress like X or have lips like Y. This is shit-brained kind of thinking. That's all cultural diversion. What's real is you and your friends, your associations, your highs, your orgasms, your hopes, your plans, your fears. And we're told no. We're unimportant. We're peripheral. Get a degree. Get a job. Get at this. Get at that. Then you're a player. You don't even want to play in that game. You want to reclaim your mind and get it back out of the hands of the cultural engineers who want to turn you into a half-baked moron consuming all the trash that's being manufactured of the bones of a dying world. Society tends to frown on any kind of utopian thinking, but culture can literally be an effort to realize our collective dreams. Humans are ingenious creatures capable of great things. Just imagine if enough understanding could be achieved and we actually used our creations to better humanity. If we worked together, for each other instead of just ourselves. What could we build? Humans aren't here to toil in service for 40 hours a week so we can afford to pay rent on an earth that's already ours. We are here to experience the radiant bliss of life, to live and love to the point of tears and enjoy the abundant pleasure and sea of love at our fingertips. We are here to build, create, and flourish, not as countries or cultures, but as a species. We are humans, and we need systems that serve the people and our planet, not people that serve the system. Our educational systems indoctrinate us with the ideals and ideologies of our culture. It's education to conform to a predefined way of life. It doesn't ask us to question, or to explore who or what we might become. It prepares us so we can pass tests and fit into the world as it is, get a job, shuffle along, work so you can afford to consume all the glorified shit that will make you happy, and then die surrounded by things in a really big house. The mentality of this society is to build your own deathbed. You spend your life chasing things you want to have and getting to a place you want to be when you die. This is not meaningful existence. It's a life of service, participating as a cog in a machine, a pawn. We are fed the illusion of freedom while being forced to play in a rigged game. A game that requires your participation if you want to eat. That is, unless enough people realize that the game is rigged and find a better way. Civilization is not about who has money, or how much we know, or how tall the buildings are. It's about being able to relate to our fellow humans and environment peacefully. I'll leave you with this quote. As a global society, we must find a new guiding image for our culture, one that unifies the aspirations of humanity with the needs of the planet and the individual. Terence McKenna.